So, Raheem, one of the benefits of doing a show of this nature as infrequently as we do it is, in the age of ultra fast information, news cycles have an opportunity to play themselves out several times over before I've had a chance to really speak to the people about them. So I, much like I can assume anyone else, go through a range of emotions with these, with these little talking points, these little topics du jour, so to speak, right? And Ja Morant, Raheem, I don't know what to think about this dude. So Ja Morant, Memphis Grizzlies star guard Ja Morant, Nike signature shoe having Ja Morant. He's the one who essentially took over the Kyrie line after the Link Gate, Amazon Link Gate. Ja Morant he's the guy. Listen, man, a lot of people are saying that as far as American-born basketball stars, this is the guy who is widely considered the best, or at least the most marketable under 25 NBA star that we have. And that's important because, look, in a time where when you think about who the best NBA players are, you think about Nikola Jokic, you think about Giannis Antetokounmpo, you think about Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid. Who's going to pick up that mantle for USA basketball? So in the xenophobic world of marketing, these things really matter. And Ja Morant has been put in that position. Listen, man, he gets compared to Allen Iverson. So he is a quick guard. He plays an exciting style, but really, it's that counterculture thing that he represents, right? Like AI, it was such a big deal that AI had braids and tats. The fact that you remember they airbrushed AI's tats, Allen Iverson's tats off of the cover of Slam magazine. Like these are real things that happen. Allen Iverson he's the reason they made the dress code. You know what I'm saying? To borrow a phrase, this is real. So Ja Morant is not the cultural force that Allen Iverson was, but the kids love him. He dances. He does the gritty. So a $200 million contract. This is the guy, but it seems that his antics all of a sudden ain't cute no more. Cause I was under the impression, Raheem, that Ja Morant and his, for lack of a better term, counterculture presentation was something that everybody encouraged and thought was cute because it's never been hidden. Look, man, last year, I remember I'm on Twitter last year and it's like, Ja Morant's threatening to shoot people on Twitter. He's threatening to shoot people on Twitter. He hopped under some comments and he's like, well, and I'm quoting here, he hops under some comments and he starts telling some randos, well, it's free to see how hollows feel. It's free to see how hollows feel. He's threatening to shoot people, and the only coverage it gets is from Outkick the Coverage or Deadspin or Barstool or some, or Butt Crack Sports or whatever it is, right? Like it seems like it's this sort of this whispered thing that everyone knows, but it only really gets talked about on the internet, right? Because the deals keep rolling. Kyrie gets in trouble, as I mentioned, and so Ja gets the shoe, right? As if this guy's some sort of as if his reputation or that he's something that people can build around from a marketing standpoint. So it seems that after a feud with a television star, with LeBron James propagandist Shannon Sharpe, and to be fair, Shannon is a former pro tight end, NFL tight end. So calling him a television star, I don't mean to be reductive in that, but at this point, this is what he did. You remember Shannon Sharpe brought the wrestling aspect of sports media to a Lakers-Grizzlies game where all of a sudden he's a part of the entertainment. He's willing to fight the entire Memphis Grizzly team over his takes. He's there to back up. I stand on my takes, Skip. I stand on my takes. He's willing to do that in public. And so, not unlike Hannibal Buress and Bill Cosby, Shannon Sharpe was an accelerant to the Ja Morant decline. It's been some strange stuff to watch, and I haven't seen too many people talking about it because, look, Shannon Sharpe, without question, shone a light on Ja Morant and sort of, more than shedding light, he was out and out taunting a 23-year-old, pro athlete. So these are, testosterone soaked, during your most testosterone soaked years where you're down to die about proving your manhood. A grown man of, I suppose, he got to be at least 50 years old, is taunting him. Raheem, do we have any clips of Shannon Sharpe taunting Ja Morant?
I wish Ja would realize that he's not a thug. Ja is a really good basketball player. Ja did everything he could to lift himself and his family out of this type of environment and to get away from this. And for some reason, he wants to surround himself with these type of people. Why? Bruh, you not hard. That's not your life. People that in that life would give anything to be in your life.
Great point.
For some reason, you got a $200 million contract, and you want people in the NBA to think you hood, to think you gangster, because you roll with these type of people. Bro, you putting yourself in harm's way when you don't have to. Nobody looks at you, John, and think, man, that's a thug. He hood. He down. He bought that. You not. Stop pretending. All you do is yap and talk about, oh, I'm going to let him live to see another day. I'm going to do this. You're not going to do nothing.
So, Raheem, on its surface, this sounds like free game from an OG. It sounds like Shannon Sharpe might be giving Ja Morant exactly what he needs, which is a dose of the truth, maybe a dose of tough love. Maybe T. Morant can't get through to Ja the way that, Shannon, as a former pro athlete and fellow rich dude, can get through to Ja. But all I hear is taunting, telling him what he's not and what he's not going to do. So after this, right, we start to get more stories. We get more stories. The Washington Post has 2 stories about Ja Morant, one being, there was a basketball game at Ja Morant's house where he ended up having words with a 17-year-old, and after maybe some pushing, shoving, and throwing a ball, Ja Morant goes into the house, according to the Washington Post, and allegedly returns to show a gun to the 17-year-old. He flashed the tool at a 17-year-old, or so it is alleged. And then there's another story, a twin story, saying, Ja Morant's mother was at a finish line being accosted or potentially having some sort of an issue with someone at the finish line. So she called Ja Morant. Apparently, Ja Morant, in the style of almost like fireman, slid down the pole in his home and was ready to spring into action. He brought the guns to the mall, and he squashed the trouble, but he also apparently threatened some mall security workers with bullets and being shot. So there's been a lot of talk after the Shannon Sharpe incident about Ja Morant's behavior, the same behavior that he wasn't hiding last year when he was threatening people on Twitter. But Shannon Sharpe says nobody looks at Ja and sees a thug. Who don't see a thug when they look at Ja? See, this is that stuff where, I know there's been so much talk about, black hairstyles can't be, demonized and all that stuff. And I'm not demonizing that man's hairstyle, but he do got some, some little dirty dreads and, and platinum teeth, and he talks about shooting people. I don't see how y'all didn't think he was thugging. But Shannon Sharpe taunted him, and so after that, people started looking into it, and it turns out Ja Morant, I don't know who Ja is, quote unquote, according to Shannon Sharpe. That ain't you, Ja, but trouble followed him. So shortly after this, for reasons unknown to really anyone, Ja Morant is in Denver, Colorado, after games. The Memphis Grizzlies had back-to-back games in the same city, in Denver, Colorado. And so Ja Morant apparently spent 2 of those nights in a place called Shotgun Willie's. Shotgun Willie's is a strip club in Denver, Colorado, and Ja Morant went on what the New York Post describes as a two-night quote-unquote bender. A two-night bender where he might have spent as much as $50,000. He was throwing money that reports are it had to be raked up. They had to rake the money. So Ja's generous, but while at the strip club, he gets on Instagram Live and he shows, once again, he flashes a gun. He flashes a baby 380. A little pow-pow. Ja flashed a little pow-pow, and he held it with two fingers, almost like it was just a little toy, but it was a real gun. And so people were, obviously, I was sitting there like, man, like, what's up with this dude? He knows that he's hot right now. Why is he doing this? Why is he furthering the narrative about himself? And my only thought is, probably because he ain't never got in trouble for it before. It's only been rewarded at every turn before. He was doing this before the Nike deal. People don't do what they're disincentivized to do typically, especially when, you're talking about, they're incentivized by contracts and all NBA teams and various things, man. So after he flashes the gun, it becomes crisis mode. Crisis mode, so much so that Ja Morant has to take time away from the team to address his mental health, anxiety and stress, and all of the pressures of being a modern NBA star. So Ja Morant went to Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida, went to something like, I suppose, a rich person's version of Scared Straight. I'm not sure if he was taken on a tour of a local prison or possibly yelled at by a figure in the style of Tookie Williams. But Ja Morant went to Thug Rehab for a couple of days, and this is the part of the story where I start getting offended. I start finding things to take offense to. You know it's coming, because once y'all start forcing black people to do things, I usually can see the jokes. And this time, so I get, okay, let's start here. What rehab did he go to? What did they do? So Ja Morant is back. So listen, man, they gave him time served, an 8-game suspension with time served, which already lets you know, kind of just even that idea as a concept lets you know sort of where this is going. But so Ja Morant will be back. He missed 6 games already, but due to time served, he'll be back on this coming Monday. But so Ja gave Jalen Rose his welcome back from rehab interview. Let's play a little bit of it, Raheem, because I gotta admit, I'm troubled.
In particular, if you don't mind getting into detail, like what were you doing these last 10 days and what did it teach you about yourself?
Just learning, I can open up. I can, express my feelings, and that it's, okay to be able to express your feelings. So, I was constantly, talking to therapists. I've been doing, Reiki treatment. I've been doing anxiety breathing, different stuff to, help me manage that and, release, all that stuff from my body.
So, Raheem, it starts to get nasty here for me, and here's why. The implication now is that something is just fundamentally wrong with Ja Morant as a person or as a human, right? Something is wrong with this guy. He's undergoing Reiki treatment, which is this, Japanese form of, like kind of alternative medicine. It's a way to, it's for healing, right? It's energy for healing your physical and your emotional self. And he has to get all these things out of his body because he showed a gun, or because he was at a strip club spending a lot of money, or what is he doing exactly that is requiring this seemingly specialized form of rehab that heals gangster tendencies? I've never heard of this sort of thing before. It's not, show me another time. Who else goes to this rehab center? Do they have similar symptoms to Ja Morant? Is there what? I don't understand this at all, Raheem. Do we have any more Ja Morant sound from his comeback interview?
You were holding a gun, and we both both know how dangerous that can be. Whose gun were you holding?
Well, the gun wasn't mine. It's not who I am. I don't condone any type of violence, but I take full responsibility for my actions. Made a bad mistake, and I can see the image that I painted over myself with my recent mistakes. But in the future, I'm gonna show everybody who Ja really is, what I'm about, and change this narrative that everybody got painted over me.
Raheem, where is the NRA? Where is the National Rifle Association to advocate for Ja Morant's two-way rights? Why is Ja Morant not at a responsible gun-owning course? Why is it that when this man is seen with the gun, it's looked at as a crisis? We live in America. We live in a place where guns are the norm. We live in a place where guns are expected. And we live in a place where guns are, I hate to say it, constitutionally protected. But the rights of this young black athlete, apparently he shouldn't have a weapon because of what? I'm not sure why he should not have a weapon the more I think about it. Now, if you want to say, well, he's in a strip club drunk, then yeah, he should go to a responsible gun owning course. But it has to become about a problem with him and things that he needs Japanese treatment to overcome because he's got to get some bad stuff out of his body. What is he getting out of his body? It's so coded, and they teach these dudes to speak coded because guess what? The money depends on it. This is about the money. This is about saying what you have to say to move on.
What a money resign, what a money resign, what a money resign, what a money resign.
So Ja Morant is doing what he needs to do to keep the money, to keep the bag, as they say. He's doing what he has. He's doing what the money wants him to do. He's saying what needs to be said in order to stay in proximity to the money. That's all this comes down to. So, but when we start talking about who Ja is and Ja's gonna show you and all these sort of personal, intrinsic aspects to this situation, starts getting nasty because it starts to play on trope after trope. There's something wrong with Ja Morant. You cannot be a responsible gun owner as a black person in this country. Well, and if you can't have endorsements. It's not something that is marketable. And you know it.